All right, good evening and welcome to Grosse Ile Behind the Curtain podcast, episode 001, where we will discuss what's happening in and around the island, including local politics, sports, restaurants, some grilling, music, libations, and along the way have some fun. I'm Mark Lane, and with me tonight is co-host Mark Mills. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing? Hello to everybody out in the listening audience. My name is Mark Mills. I'm here with Mr. Lane here. Yeah, we want to talk about some of the really good things actually going on here on Grosse Ile. This is a great place to live, and we want to go ahead and expose some of that, and we're going to use our media outlets to do that. We want to discuss a number of topics over the next few podcasts and bring all the islanders, hopefully bring the islanders together here so we can all kind of get on the same page where we want to see the island, what direction we're going into.
We have no commission. What do you call it? Communication commission on the island. So
Correct.
we have to do
Yeah.
some other way of communicating to our friends and
Right. In the absence of the township actually having communication, because we're going to try to help supplement that. We're not the communication or commission, but we certainly want to help out with that the best we possibly can. So,
Well, on
yep.
tonight's show, we're going to discuss Grosse Ile's master plan with our first special guest, Grosse Ile trustee Jameson Yeager. Good evening, Jameson, and welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me out. Appreciate
Welcome,
it.
welcome to the outhouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, it smells better than I thought it would.
so,
Thanks for coming by, Jameson.
Yeah.
so you're working on the master plan for Grosse Ile. Can you tell everyone what's that about? How many people are a part of putting together the master plan, and can you give us some insight on how the process works?
Yeah, the first thing I would want to do is point out I am not personally creating the master plan, right? I wouldn't want. You said I was working on it. I'm participating, right?
There
So,
you go.
we hired some experts to work on it. That's the Smith Group. So what the master plan is a document that the township is creating, or whether commissioning someone to help us create, to kind of guide us into the future, right? And it's looking out, 5, 10, 20 years at pretty much everything. So zoning, future community needs, programs, policies. Uh, so it's how many people are working on it is a little bit of a broad question. So we have a steering committee that's about 12 people, and those 12 people are all from different walks of life here on the island, and their job is to sort of help with that public outreach part and reach all the different demographics and people around the island so that we can solicit, I should say the Smith Group can solicit input from the whole community, right? Because uh, like anything else in government and politics, right? It's about compromise. So we have to figure out, what everybody wants, so we can find a way to move forward together. So
What's one of the big things that they're trying to accomplish with this? Attracting families, would that be one? Younger families, would that be one of
well,
the?
I don't think so. The township didn't start out with setting a certain number of goals and then going to the master plan. They kind of help us tailor what goals we want to find, right? So I have some priorities, right, that I certainly try to
Sure.
talk about and bring to everybody's awareness. Attracting younger families is one of them, right? So Grosse Ile, and we could get into what policies made it this way and how we got here and everything else, but Grosse Ile, Grosse Ile is an expensive place to live, right? And I'm not talking about taxes. I'm just talking about the cost of a house here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of young families are just priced right off the island. I looked it up in a meeting a couple weeks ago. I think it was the average house in Grosse Ile right now costs $297,000.
Whoa.
Right? So now you're looking at, well, a mortgage of over 2 grand a month, and that's before we even pile on taxes and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, given current interest rates and everything, right? So that's a temporary situation, but it's reflective of the trend. Um, we all want to have high property values, right? I get that. I would certainly wouldn't try to invert that. But I think we need to start looking at some ways to have some housing that's more affordable to younger people that aren't quite as established in their careers and things like that. And you can talk to school about it, right? They'll tell you like classes are every year we graduate less kids than we did the year before.
Right, right.
So I think it's a concern, and because that's our tax base. So which kind of segues into other stuff. I mean, we've got some tough decisions to make financially over the next decade,
For sure.
because growth has stagnated here. Right?
Yeah.
There's just only so many lots, and our open space program and our zoning has done a really good job of preventing Grosse Ile from having a population of 50,000 and becoming a metropolis, right? But it's done such a good job of that, it's also stifled our growth. So I'm probably getting off the topic of the master plan there, but that's
No,
my.
but
No.
it's good to hear. You know, I've been here now 13 years. I live next to an open space, which I'm glad I have an open space. That's really why I
Yeah.
wanted to live here on Grosse Ile. But there's just some things to. Yes, it's $290,000 an average home to purchase now, but how do you attract these younger? We have school of choice here. We
Mhm.
have two bridges. We know that one bridge is going to have to be repaired eventually or replaced.
Sure.
That's the necessity.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to get these kids, get these families over here with kids. But what do we have here for kids to do or young families to participate in? Has the master plan looked at some of these activities? You know,
Yeah, the master plan, like I said, solicits info from people from all walks of life, right? One thing we saw from younger people was they want some stuff to do, right? They want trails, they want sidewalks, they want access to the water, right? A waterfront of some kind. Um, and Grosse Ile has the ability to do this kind of stuff, right? We just need to create a environment where we can accomplish it, and then we need a plan to follow. And I think that's where the master plan kind of circles back around and gives us that plug, right? So as an example, if I was, well, let's talk about the Bellevue connector, right? This trail we're putting in along Bellevue by the Grosse Ile Golf and Country Club. We left out a section, but one of the ways that we can fill that section and fill other sections of the bike trail is with a mandate from the people. So if the people come out for this master planning process and say bike trails, bike trails, bike trails, well, then I can go back to the board and be like, we need to fund this because our boss, the taxpayer, says so, right?
Right.
So I think it helps. It helps give us a mandate for the future and helps build out how we're going to get to where we want to be. So.
So I just want to touch on a couple of things. So you mentioned out getting the message out to the people.
Mm-hmm.
How are we getting that message out through the master plan, or what's the mechanism to let everybody know what they can
So
do, how they can participate, and so forth?
yeah, so far I think there's been a few different mechanisms, and there will be more. Um, the first is the steering committee, right, which is this group of people that represent the island writ large, and they're not elected officials. They're people from all over the island, just regular folks. The other way is they have published some online surveys, and they are soliciting input like that. I think they did a. I didn't participate in this. I think I was out of town that weekend, but they did do a walkabout kind of down Macomb and just kind of talk about some of that. And Macomb's a really long road for a
sure.
downtown, right? So, and then of course you can always contact your elected representatives, right? Your 7 elected officials and be like, hey, this is what I'd really like a boat ramp, or I'd really like I don't know. I'd like to be able to put a 6-foot fence around my house, because the master plan encompasses everything, everything, zoning, all of it. So if you've got something you want to put out there, let us know.
Well, right. So, like you said, they can contact our elected officials,
Hmm.
things of that nature. But a lot of people, I'm going to venture to guess, on the island, probably don't know that a new master plan is underway, right? So,
Yeah, that's
how do we
probably.
reach that crowd? Like, is it going out through maybe Code Red, something like that?
I don't know if it's gone out over Code Red yet. I know that Smith Group will start doing town halls and soliciting.
Okay.
The churches possibly going to churches and
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's in the plan or not. I'll have to. I mean, I would recommend that, right?
yeah.
Churches are pretty big part of life for a lot of people in Grosse Ile. So, but there will be more participatory things, in the future. I think what they do in the beginning, they start with a little bit smaller groups because if you just go to 500 people and say, "What do you want?"
Oh
Well,
my
now
God.
it's bananas, right?
Yeah.
So I think they try to come up with a little bit more targeted, this or that. What do you think of this kind of stuff before they go to those bigger groups?
Oh, understood. Yeah, I understood.
I was a part of one when I lived in Dearborn. They were going through that. They had small pools. They had 10 small pools in the neighborhoods, and they wanted to shut most of them down. So they went and actually went out and Plant Moran did a feasibility study. They reached out to the residents. Well, that got blown out. They kept the pools. There was the residents put up a fight. So, getting back to what you're saying, like a boat ramp or maybe even a beach site, is any of that
Yeah.
talked about putting a beach in on this island? Like, again, I've been here. I was surprised when I moved here that we didn't have a beachfront area
was
for
too.
residents. You know, you either got to belong to a country club, or a
Yeah.
boat. I'm sorry, a boat club.
Yeah.
I think I think people do talk about that stuff, right? But whether that rises to the level of political will and capability and money, what you said earlier about a feasibility study, that's
Sure.
probably the biggest hurdle you face with any kind of this
Oh, yeah.
stuff, if I could wave a magic wand and give us a world-class entertainment district on the water down by water's edge, I mean, great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out why.
I mean, if we could create
Yeah.
revenue, you create revenue to help balance your budget and
Yeah,
bring
and
more.
you do it through like public-private partnerships, right? Requests for proposals and
Yep.
things like that. So maybe, and I don't want to speak this into existence because people won't want to hear this, but theoretically, if we were going to develop a waterfront property, it'd pretty much have to be a water's edge, right?
Oh, agreed.
I mean, the township doesn't own a lot of waterfront property unless we go to the south end by the airport, and then you start getting into FAA regulations and things like that.
Right.
We could also create a policy where we purchase waterfront property, but you've seen how much that costs. So I think I think there are potentials for this kind of stuff, but I think it's complicated and it requires a lot of political will.
Okay.
Which I have, but I need some more votes.
No, I just want to throw this out there. If you're looking to purchase waterfront property, I'd be happy to go ahead and sell you mine. For the right price, of course.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you're going to give me a really great rate.
It will be a great deal. It's got great views too. Anyway,
Okay.
you can look at my house 360. It's gonna be a wonderful view.
Fair enough.
So, when are they looking to have this done? What is their goal to have this all done and completed by and presented to the? They get sent to the township
I
board?
guess I don't know the timeline right off the cuff. I've been told it's a lengthy process. I think we're probably talking year.
That's why
Because you want to be thorough, you want to do a good job. You don't want to rush to failure, right? So it's a long process and involving the public in it along the way. Like anything else in government, the gears grind slowly. So
almost in reverse sometimes. I've been hearing from 1 to 2 years before this is complete,
Yeah.
and which it probably doesn't need that long to iron out.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, we have an election coming up this year for the Grosse Ile Township Board, so all 7 positions. And I'm actually happy that the master plan process spans the election because it actually enables 2 boards to. It enables the newly elected people, the 2024 cadre of board members, to actually weigh in on this process, right? Because it would be a real shame for the current board to pigeonhole the next board into,
whatever they plan. Correct. Yeah,
I've seen that
makes
before.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a rec department, we have an airport, we have a DDA. Are they components at all in this plan?
Yes. So I don't want to say it's structured by department because I don't think that's the actual intent. But in a lot of ways, departments have almost like a section or chapter, if you will, right? So recreation is a chapter. The Department of Public Works is a chapter, things like that. Or if they're not a chapter, they represent a chapter. As an example, one of the committee or commissions I sit on, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission, we don't have a chapter, right? There's no BPAC chapter, but there is a intermodal transportation and non-motorized transportation or pedestrian chapter. So we would be advocating for what we think the public needs in that particular particular section.
Okay,
So.
well that's good. And I'm glad to hear that, especially with the recreation department. Maybe they can talk about putting a deep end to the pool.
Well, so the new recreation director Zaid is actually a pretty ambitious guy. I've been talking to him quite a bit about some of the things he wants to do down at Water's Edge. So hopefully we're going to be seeing some changes for the better down there. Uh, he's motivated. So
Well,
happy to have him on board.
we would like to see some new and improved island events.
Hmm.
I think we need to look at other things on this island to draw either residents together, build a community, bring families together. We do the Santa Claus thing. Why aren't we looking at having an event with like a winter festival event on the island? I know we haven't had much snow this year, but some type of winter event, almost like a Greenfield Village type thing on our island.
Yeah,
We something
Real
like
place.
that. We have an island fest that turns into, as we all know, I call it the drunk fest.
Well,
but that's
not
just
wrong.
my opinion. But it is fun. We do enjoy ourselves there.
Have a great time.
Have a great time.
Yeah.
But we'd like. I personally would like to see a different brand of entertainment and other things. But I'm not on a
Yeah.
rec commission, so I can't make those.
I mean, I
assumptions
think
and stuff,
that in Grosse Ile, for some reason, the rec commission is almost like it does a lot of events, right?
Yes.
And I really, to me, the rec commission is way more than events. And this isn't like a politician segue or Perry or anything like that, right? But
Not you, Jameson. No.
No,
no,
I
no.
pretty much give it to you straight.
Yeah.
But
Thank you. By the
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Refreshing.
I think the rec commission should really be looking at durable and enduring things, right? Like the Water's Edge complex. We have a big old chunk of waterfront property that's a marina that has transient parking. And a lot of people don't even know that. Most people don't even know that you can just pull your boat in there, throw the lines up, and grab a burger
Right.
at Tipsy Fish. So,
That's what's called now.
yep, that's
Yes,
the new
the
restaurant.
new restaurant
Tipsy
coming in.
Fish.
Tipsy
Tipsy
Fish,
Fish.
I
Yeah.
hear it's gonna be really, really good.
Great
Yeah,
name. I
Can't
love
wait
it.
to check it out.
Yeah, I'm actually excited. I think it's gonna be. I
I
think
hope-
it's gonna be awesome.
I hope they keep going on with the bands that play out there.
Yes,
in the summertime,
definitely.
Too. That would be
that's
great.
that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think the events are cool. I don't know. Maybe there used to be a festival commission, and that kind of fell into Rec's purview over the years. Maybe we need to get back to that. I mean, but we've got other problems. When we start talking about community events and things like that. Like as an example, I got a buddy of mine. He did the his name's PJ. He hosted the swim out to the lighthouse.
Yeah.
I forget the name. It's something home swim. 6.2 miles, super cool event. We all swam out there, and we've been talking about putting together like a half Ironman here in Grosse Ile, which would be awesome. Like perfect
be
place
awesome.
for
Yeah,
it,
it
right?
is, it
Like
is.
yes,
Yeah, I agree.
you've got the current pushing you when you swim, which is a current assisted swim, so it's a little faster. People like that, so they go to those events.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Do several laps around the island, run a lap around the island, get your medal, But some of the logistical concerns, which again goes back to kind of our policies over the past 20 years, is if we invite 1,000 triathletes here to do a half Ironman, where are they going to sleep? We can't put them all up at the pilot house, right?
Mhm.
And we're looking at legislating Airbnbs off the island. So, I mean, these things are possible, but nobody wants to wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. to go to their Ironman and drive an hour, to get to Grosse Ile. So I think events are cool, but I also think we've got to look at all of the supporting activities.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
logistics, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to add on to the master plan? What you think, or you're hoping that they're going to come up with?
I mean, like I threw out the idea of my magical waterfront entertainment district earlier, which I think is pretty cool.
But you know what, though? That's not so magical. I mean, that's something that could really
Well-
happen. This is a water destination.
Well,
This
I
could
think
be a
so,
summer
too.
destination. It really could be.
I talked about
And I
that
think we need to
during
exploit
during my campaign a lot in 2020. That Grosse Ile is really undervaluing itself, right?
Yes,
We
it is.
are like the jewel of downriver,
Yes.
and downriver is the Riviera of the Great Lakes, right?
There's-
Like we're
The sad part is people on this island sometimes don't want to be that. They just want to be left alone.
Sure, and
And
I think there's plenty of people that want that, right? But if we created a waterfront entertainment district at Water's Edge, beefed up our downtown a little bit, right? Maybe
Yes.
put some kind of anchor on the east end. I mean, it's not like everybody's going to be going up to the north end and bothering the folks living up there, right? It's not like anybody's going to be driving down to Elba Island and, bothering the folks living there.
No, you get most of your traffic coming across the Parkway or the North Bridge
Mhm.
and going downtown. I mean, that's where it's going to
Yeah,
be.
or taking a right and heading down to Water's Edge. So
Right,
I don't
right.
think it really changes the character of Grosse Ile so much as it just brings in revenue.
so
right?
you have a boat.
And our
I
businesses
do,
need
yes, I
that.
do.
And you have a boat.
Mhm.
And I'm just a freeloader.
Yes.
But you
Yes,
guys,
you are.
have you been over the other side of what's the island across the way over?
Stony?
Stony.
Mhm.
In between the islands over there, it's a festival
Oh, it
every
is.
every week.
I can not confirm nor deny having ever been
But
there.
you could you imagine
I'll
like
confirm it. Yeah.
Ten-
Yeah,
okay,
I've been out
all right,
there.
10 to
I'll confirm.
20% of those people coming over here
Mhm.
to the
Well, and
West River.
They buy gas, they buy beer, they buy ice, they buy
Well,
food.
they're
Right.
over here
You
at
know,
Humbuck.
Yeah, they go over to Humbug or they go over to what's the what I forget the name of it. It's south of Humbug. It's actually a really great restaurant. You should go there.
Yeah.
But we should have a great restaurant that people can go to, right?
Yes.
So hopefully Tipsy Fish gets there. And hey, there's transient parking at a marina. So if you want to pull your boat in there and tie up and go get something to eat, do it. So
Well, I appreciate all your thoughts on the planning commission. I'm hopeful that some of these ideas, get to the right people.
I have just, I'm sorry, two more
Go
short,
ahead, go
short,
ahead,
quick
go ahead,
answers
go ahead.
regarding the planning commission. You mentioned earlier starter. I mean, you didn't mention that. You mentioned housing. Is there any kind of idea for like maybe a starter house type community here, like, or has that even come up at all? A lower priced point, so we can get younger families here with the kids, get them into schools and things of that nature.
So that is a man. It just all this stuff sounds so easy when we just
No,
talk about
I
it.
know
But
it sounds easy, but I know.
right,
I mean,
yeah,
are there any
it's-
whispers of that? Anybody
well,
even thinking about that?
one thing that Kyle Debussy and I have been talking about, and I've talked to some of the other trustees about it too, is the R1E zoning, right?
Yes.
Which is just the standard residential zoning. It has the let me see if I can phrase this properly. If you build a new house on Grosse Ile, you
Yes.
need much more property than you do if you purchase an existing house, right? So I'll give you an example. So my house is in the Hickory subdivision, kind of near the police station, and we have super regular lots. They look like pies. So my house is back far enough to meet the zoning requirements, but I'm way too close to my property lines on both sides and way too close to my property line in the back. So if you bought my property with no house on it, you couldn't build anything on it.
Right.
Right? So if I lived in that same subdivision, I owned an acre with my house on half of it, and I wanted to split it into two lots, sell you, I guess for listeners' purposes, either Mark, a
Mark and Mark.
yeah, a half acre, and you build a house on it, you couldn't. And that's actually what catalyzed this R1E discussion was because there is a resident that wants to split their lot and
Yes.
build themselves a second home on the other lot, and they actually can't because of this R1E zoning requirement. So we've started looking at addressing that. We were going to originally address it through the planning commission. Some of the other trustees thought it was more prudent to do that through the master plan process. So that's one of the things we're looking at in the zoning.
Mhm.
And like I said, we did a great job of preventing Grosse Ile from becoming a metropolis, right? With the
Sure.
zoning rules and the open space and things like that. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the open spaces, right? They're beautiful,
No.
they're wonderful. It's half the reason I moved here. But I think we need to adjust some of our zoning in order to give people, a fighting chance to get smaller homes, right? And maybe when you're a little older, you upgrade to a bigger one and so on and so
Oh,
forth.
no, absolutely, yeah. Now, so I just didn't know, like I said, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything like that. I just didn't know if there's any whispers in the background, anything like that. Because my son, okay, my oldest son purchased a house, but he had to go down to Monroe County
Mm-hmm.
to find something he could afford with the acreage he wanted, right?
Yeah.
There was nothing here he could even touch. And he's a younger person.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get married. He's going to have kids, and which is kind of what we want to help keep the island rolling forward. Because if we don't do that, we all know where we're going to end up one day, right? This thing's just going to kind of disappear.
Well, I was actually, I guess this is a good time to bring this up, right? So, I think anybody who's paying attention to township board meetings sees that I'm a bit of a tax hawk, right?
Yes.
And I'm that way just because of my, well, I pay taxes too, right? But it's also my politics, right? It's I believe that as a government we need to ask for as little tax money as possible.
Correct. I agree with you.
So, which means everything needs to be efficient. So we're maximizing the taxpayer's dollar, right? So, regarding our tax base, yes, it is growing every year because the values of houses are going up, but it's not keeping pace with the cost of services, right? So we collect about $6.8 million total revenue a year. Only about half of that's taxes. Some of it's other stuff. The police cost over $4 million a year, right? So people are starting to wonder, like, well, what's going on? Why is this costing us so much money when we could afford this stuff before? And the reason we could afford it before was because of growth, right? 10, 15, 20 years ago, Grosse Ile was still growing, which means even though the taxable rate stayed the same, there were still more residences added every year that are paying taxes. And for the past 10 or 20 years, Grosse Ile's not really growing.
Right.
You see a new house go up once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're not growing, we're not, and I mean we're waterlocked, right? I mean we can only grow so much.
Yeah, of course.
But what that means is, I think, unless we find ways to get more like young families here in starter homes paying taxes, we really need to start thinking about what services are really important to us, what services are less important to us, and what level of service are we willing to pay for, right? So, and that's just, I guess that's my 2 cents on the tax base. So.
Well, you hit on the police millage, but we'll talk about that in another episode. We'll
All right.
hold off on that one.
Yeah, well, a future episode for sure. And I just want to touch on one more thing, and I'm sorry. Then I'll let this whole planning thing go. But I'm certain there's been maybe talks or discussions about our downtown district, right? And how to try to revive that. In the master plan, is there any talks? And I know this is gonna have to go through a number of different channels before we just put like an economic developer in place. But have there been any talks about that? Just any whispers?
Yeah, I mean, the downtown will be addressed in the master plan. What I will say, I don't think the master plan's at the point where we would start talking about specific stuff yet. What I will say is about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, they did commission, the DDA commissioned a study on our downtown.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And a couple of things that came out of that was it's way too long. So it's like 1.2 miles or something, 1.1 miles. It's the longest downtown in Michigan. It's the longest declared downtown.
Really?
In the state,
Really?
right?
You gotta be kidding me.
No, because most of them are short and compact, right? Like you want it to be walkable.
Sure. Well, I've been, Plymouth or Northville. They're much shorter. They're also more. They're not spaced out like we have.
It's more dense.
So, and then we've got a weird quirk of zoning going on. So if you notice, if you're on the east side of Park Lane on Macomb, the buildings meet the sidewalk, right? Like Grosse Ile Hardware, the bakery, come right up to the sidewalk. On the west side of Park Lane, the buildings have to be back, I think it's 20 feet or maybe 25 feet from the sidewalk. So then you end up with all the buildings pushed back, like CVS, Kroger, the urgent care. So I think before we can even really get into like getting a rip roaring downtown, we got to get our zoning in order there, right? And I know I keep talking back up,
100%.
Backing myself back into zoning, but that's really how you get that kind of stuff done, right? So.
Well, I know there's a lot of talk about Lions Park and what they want to do there too. So that's another big issue.
I've got some conversation to have about that. I'm not entirely sure. I know the DDA has a plan for it, but I guess I want to get involved and figure out what's going on. So
I got you.
I'll leave that one at that.
Yeah, I do like the GI sign there though.
I think it's cool.
Like the high school kids.
I know it's a little bit divisive, and some people are like, this ugly sign.
I would have liked to have seen it. I would like to have seen it maybe down on Macomb at the corner, but it's fine where it's at. I know my son and his classmates last year when they graduated, they were the first senior class to go over there, put their hands on it and stuff, and they graduated, which they're going to continue to do. So I just thought that was a really cool touch to it.
I think it is too.
So I warmed up to it.
Yeah, well, I like that idea too, but I still think something like that should have been like at the entrance of Grosse Ile, something to show people when you come on, that kind of thing, more like an
You
attention.
mean not
getter.
like the trees that they put
Yeah,
out
I'm
there?
not gonna go with the palm trees, man.
Not the palm trees?
Yeah. Well, you know what though? At
You
nighttime they look
guys, so
nice.
hold on. I want to take
Sorry,
a.
did I go off track?
I
It's
want to
okay.
I want to go off track.
Yeah.
The
We got
palm
plenty
tree,
of time.
the Palm Tree Yacht Club.
Yeah.
I want to know what you guys think. Because every once in a while somebody goes. Now this is a resident, right? Goes and buys a neon palm tree with their own money.
And puts it
Goes
out
to
there.
the garden and puts it right across the bridge. And then every morning the township comes out and collects that palm. I haven't found it, but I think there's a room at Township Hall that's like got 1,000.
I wonder if
But you
they're
had to
selling
kid
them.
me.
They're probably over there selling them to Grosse Ile
Well,
hardware.
I wouldn't mind grabbing a couple, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, because I'll put them in front of my house. I have no problem.
I would
with it. Me
love to have
personally,
I
one.
like the palm tree.
I don't
too.
have a problem with
So-
it. I only brought that up because you're right. It depends on who you're talking to. It can be
Mm.
divisive or not. So, but if the township has like 1,000 of these trees and want to get rid of some, let me know. Because I have some places I'd like to put those on my waterfront. to be quite
Yeah, I
honest
think
with
it's a
you.
great idea.
I think it is too. It's a great.
Yeah, I'm
summer
not
tree.
certain we have a room full of trees. But.
Okay. Well, if that pops up, let me know. Let me know, please. So, all right. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep dragging. out the,
No.
the master plan, but I mean, it's important. It's important what the direction of Grosse Ile is going in. I'm excited about it, and I hope everything turns out well with it. And I'd like to be a part of it myself. So that's one of the reasons why I ask you how you get it out to the citizens. How are we all going to know?
So we're gonna keep reaching out and there's gonna be more involvement for everybody. So if you specifically want to be involved, you can certainly talk to Ross and Derek and see if they'll add you to the steering committee.
Yeah, I know who they are. Maybe I'll. I've heard of them. I'll give them a shout and see what they think. If they want to talk to me about that, it'd be great. So moving on, and I'll end it with that. Mark? Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Although I want to buy one of those palm trees.
I do now. I mean, we could spend. Let's just spend this at the palm tree conversation. We could do
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't mind one either. But so Jameson, I understand that you're on the Bike Path Commission. What is the mission of the Bike Path Commission? What are they here for? What is their responsibility? I guess.
Well, in full disclosure, I do not have the mission of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee memorized, but I did prepare and look it up. So.
Oh, perfect, man. That's all we can ask.
The mission statement of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is to promote bicycle and pedestrian and other non-motorized travel, which could include wheelchairs, rollerblading, skateboarding, via engineering, education, encouragement, evaluation, and planning activities within the township of Grosse Ile. So functionally, any of those things kind of depend on funding, right? So the residents did vote to have a bike path maintenance millage, which provides some money for the BPAC to maintain the trails. But there's no dedicated millage for putting in new trails, which I don't know, maybe we need one someday. So
Yeah, well, you might want to hold up in the middle of chalk right now, man. I don't think that
well,
one's gonna make
I'm
it
pretty
through.
chock full of villages.
I do have a question about these bike paths. Did they put a bike path through the woods over here, the open space across?
It's not a BPAC bike path. So in the Township Commission turf wars, that's open space path. So,
Okay.
yeah, I actually had to leg wrestle Carl Bletcher for that trail. So he won, so he got the open space in there.
I took my dog through there a couple months ago. It's not bad. It's just not I wouldn't say laid out, but
Yeah.
you don't know which way you're going.
Well, I tried to go. My son and I ran
Got
down
lost.
the other day. Yeah, and I
How do you
don't
get
know.
lost back here, man?
At
Well,
some point, they just stopped laying cedar chips.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think,
100.
so-
It's 156 acres,
Yeah,
and you
it's
go
substantial.
through, and it starts small or it's thin, and then it widens out, and then it goes this way, I think, and it's kind of like all over the place,
I'll tell
especially
you
if it's
what.
dark.
Whether
Well,
you
I
go north,
think
east,
it's-
south, or west, you're eventually gonna run into water, brother. So
Yeah.
keep walking.
Hey, I just wanted on the record that Mark Lane got lost in Grosse Ile.
It happens, And I wasn't. I'm not gonna go in there. I'm not gonna say anything else.
So it's an open space
My
bike
dog
path,
took
not
me
a
through there.
not a BPAC bike path. But my son and I ran it last week and ended up coming out of the woods just covered in mud, looking like we were running cross country because we actually just ran out of path. I don't know. Maybe we took a wrong turn or something, but it's good though, right? It's a good thing to have. I know people use it. What I'd really like to see out there, and I want to talk to Open Space about, would be getting together like a mountain biking club and doing some like mountain biking and fat tire bike obstacles out there. So maybe more to follow on that.
Mhm.
So you mentioned earlier about Bellevue.
Mm.
That's been a hot topic on the island. I just rode down Bellevue by the golf course. That road it's a mess to ride your bike on because
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that a bike path does pass and they will allow
Well,
something
we
like
did
that.
pass
You
it.
did pass.
We
Okay.
did pass it. So the Bellevue connector is really, and this is going to sound very kitschy, but it's really so much more than a bike path. Because it also involves a trail up West River, up the Park Lane Auxiliary Road there, and across the bridge, which connects us to a path that they're going to be installing on the Trenton side, and actually a river walk that's going to be at the DTE site. So it gives people, either on or off island, access to the bridge, across the bridge on both sides of it. But really, what's really important is it gives Grosse Ile a claim that we provide intermodal transportation on and off island.
That is
Right.
huge.
Yeah, it is
Right.
huge.
So as far as grant funding or federal and state resources, that really gives us an edge. Right now we're cooking with gas. So
Have you
No,
heard of
it's-
the Great Lakes Way?
yes, and this will connect us to Great Lakes Way, the Iron Bell Trail, and there's another trail. Oh, the Downriver Linked Greenways.
Yes.
So all three of them with this one trail. So.
Through my job, I worked on the Great Lakes Way documentary. So
Mhm.
it started all the way from the Raisin River all the way up through to Port Huron. So we filmed it with drones and video. Learned a lot about Gibraltar, that there's actually a tribal land over in Gibraltar through the
Oh, yeah?
trails.
Huh.
Learned about the city of Wyandotte. The Wyandotte was named after an Indian chief. Just it's amazing the history that's involved along the waterway, and then building the trails to meet the water.
Yes.
And if you've been down by the riverfront, they've got that new railway through where the old train was up through Eastern Market.
Mm-hmm.
There's
The DeQuinder Cut.
the twin. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just amazing what they've got. So if we can have something like that, it'd be amazing. I just bought a couple new e-bikes, so I'm looking forward to riding some of those trails. That's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, and the I'm glad you brought up the condition of Bellevue because that was one of the arguments against installing this trail was that just ride on the road, right?
No.
So I think the road's in worse condition than a trail would be and requires way more maintenance, right? And it's always going to be, except for the day you fix a road, it's going to be worse condition than the trail is.
But you're also fighting traffic too, though, man. It's just a
Yeah.
dangerous situation.
And golf balls.
Yeah, it's just dangerous.
Yeah, and golf balls. So, if you look at like East River where we just had it repaved, it's all right. It's good. It's better than it was.
Oh,
sure,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
not trail quality, right?
No.
Especially if you're riding. I know you mentioned you got these. I can actually see your totally awesome e-bikes. I'm very jealous. So I have skinny tire road bikes. My tires are 25 millimeters wide. So when I hit a pothole, it is a significant emotional event, right? Like I do not want to hit a pothole. So I think it's going to be a great trail, and we're just going to keep trying to move the ball forward on that. So.
You're looking
Cool.
at me. Would you like
No,
something?
I'm good. So
Should I pass this over to you?
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're enjoying the libations tonight. We're brought to you by Old Smokies and Labatt's and Discount Drinks. Discount Drinks provided. No, they didn't. But.
That'd be pretty funny if they did. I didn't realize you had sponsors.
We want to thank
No.
our sponsors.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah. Huh.
But I did go over to Discount Drinks and picked up some
All
new
right,
beer
well,
today.
very good, very good.
So
Thank
you're
you,
drinking
Discount
fresh beer
Drinks.
tonight. I have a friend that does a beer podcast, and they take
beer
beers,
podcast?
a beer podcast, and all they do is sit around and, boy, smell the aroma of this beer. Can you taste the grapefruit? I'm like, no, it just tastes good. That's
Sounds
all
like
I
we're
care
starting
about.
that one in about 15 minutes.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Smell the aroma of this beer.
Those for the beer snobs.
so is there anything else you'd like to talk about on these bike paths, or what you're looking for in the future with these bike paths? Do you have any 5-year plan on the bike paths? What you'd like to see?
Yeah, I mean, we have a 5-year plan. I guess the problem with a bike path 5-year plan is that it's largely aspirational, right? Like we need voter support to put in new paths. But it's been an exciting year for BPAC. I mean, we got the Bellevue connector put in. It's all federally funded. We brought $2.2 million of investment in Grosse Ile to do it.
That is awesome, man.
Connected us across the bridge, created an intermodal transportation hub. So that's a huge win for the Islanders, right? I mean, we're going to keep chasing the grants. And then down on the south end of the island, the Gibraltar Bay connector went in, which is a gravel trail which goes from the corner of Grow Road and East River down to the Gibraltar Bay Nature Unit.
Mm-hmm.
I went down and ran it a couple weeks ago. Super peaceful, like beautiful. If you get the chance to go out there and just walk it on maybe a cool morning or something, it's definitely worth it. So it's been a great year for BPAC and for the community, and I think we'll just try to maintain our momentum.
Jameson, through various meetings, I hear you speaking probably the most about this. Did you kind of spearhead this thing, or did you kind of steer it this way, or at least push it this way?
The Gibraltar Bay or the Bellevue connector?
Yes,
I did. I wouldn't want to get too much into the politics.
No.
But essentially, so this idea.
He's walking straight up and down. At least leave him alone.
Yeah. I just basically I was saying that to thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why
I mean,
bring it up.
I think that. I mean, obviously, I didn't, select design and engineer.
Right, that's not what I'm saying. But for
you had a big hand in this.
Well,
Yes.
I developed the political will to get it done. Right.
Great job.
and we thank you for
yes,
that. We really do.
Brian Pollock, the BPAC chair, and several of the BPAC members, and Great Lakes Way and Down Riverland Greenways, they all pitched in on this, right? It's actually a regional effort, but I was the one that's forward, so I appreciate your
Thank you for that. That's kind of where I was getting at with that, because like I said, I certainly appreciate it. I know everybody else does too. So. Hey, Jameson, I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it in discussing the Island Master Plan along with the bike paths. Is there anything else you wanted to add at this point, or anything else?
Nope.
All right. Hey, again, thanks. I mean, I hope we didn't put you on the spot too much, anyways, but we really do appreciate the feedback, and like Mark brought up earlier, the absence of a communications commission here on this island. Or
what we have on this island, we all use Facebook. We're always on Grosse Ile Now or Grosse Ile, some of the Grosse Ile pages, and a lot of us get together from the Grosse Ile 2020 team, and which all three of us were a part of that, and we tend to text each other and keep us in the loop, and hey, discuss this problem or this issue. So it's great to have you on it to talk a little bit more about what you've been doing, and but hey, we really enjoyed ourselves, and we hope everyone enjoyed the conversation that we had tonight. Our next episode on the show will be the GI Police Department's upcoming millage, and Mark is going to be putting some time into learning all about that. Mark is a former Westland policeman, so works in the police. I would not say industry. What would you call yourself?
I'm still in the law enforcement.
There we go, law enforcement community. So stay tuned. I'm Mark Lane, for my partner Mark Mills. Thank you for sticking and staying with us, and hope you tune in next time. Thanks again.